Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from the A groups. We will do a presentation about psycholinguistics. The A groups are the first speakers is Siti Fatihatul Makiyah, the second speakers is Nur Aisyah, and the last speakers is Herlina.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, I will explain the first material is understanding psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is the combination of the two words psychology and linguistic. Psychology is a change from the English word psychology, which comes from the Greek psyche, which means soul, spirit, and logos, which means knowledge. So, etymology, psychology means the sense of soul or sense whose objects of study is the soul. Then the word is absorbed into Indonesian to linguistic, which can be interpreted as the sense of language or sense that studies language as an object of scientific study. Psychology study is the psychological factors that enable humans to acquire and understand language. And there are two definitions according to experts are 1. Hartley. Psycholinguistics is the science that discusses the relationship between language and the brain in processing and communicating speech and in language acquisition. 2. Amon Beck. Psycholinguistics is the science that examines who the speaker actually from and concerts or understands that sense. And psycholinguistics study four main topics. 1. Comparison, namely the mental process and humans go through so that they can grasp what people say and understand what it means. 2. Production, namely the mental process in us that enable us to speak as we say. 3. The biological and neurological basis that makes human able to speak. And 4. Language acquisition, namely how children acquire the language. B. The beginning of psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is a hybrid science, namely a science that is a combination of two sciences, psychology and linguistics. In the beginning, psycholinguistics start from the extents of linguistics who are interested in psychology, and there were psychologists who were involved in linguistics. Here was Hyman linguistics and Marius Lazarus linguistics turned into a psychologist by publishing a journal which specifically addressed the problem of language psychology from a linguistic and psychological perspective. And the stage of development, which can be divided into 4 stages. 1. The formative stage. 2. The linguistic stage. 3. The cognitive stage. And 4. The psychologistic theory stage. Psychological reality and cognitive science. 1. The formative stage. The term psychologistic was first used by this group, then spotted research on the relativity of language and language universal. 2. Linguistic stage is the language we have acquired from before we were born. The language used by the mother and those around her begins to enter and be recorded in the foot memory. 3. Cognitive stage. At the stage people began to talk about the role of biology in language because they began to feel the biology is the foundation on which language grows. 4. Psycholinguistic theory stage. In the final stage, Psychology no longer stands as a apart science from other sciences because the acquisition and use of human language involves many other branches of science.
Psycholinguistics subdisciplinary. The psycholinguistics subdisciplinary is divided into 7 among them are as follows. The first is theoretical psycholinguistics. The second is developmental psycholinguistics. The third is social psycholinguistics. The fourth is educational psycholinguistics. The fifth is psycholinguistic neurology. The sixth is experimental psycholinguistics. And the last is applied psycholinguistics. The first is theoretical psycholinguistics. The subdisciplinary discusses language theories in language, for example, in phonetic design, word choice design, syntax design, discourse design, and intonation designs. The second is developmental psycholinguistics. The subdiscipline is related to the process of language acquisitions, both first language acquisitions and second language acquisitions. The subdisciplinary examines the process of acquiring phonology, the process of obtaining semantics, and the process of acquiring syntax in a gradual, and integrated manner. The third is social psycholinguistics. The subdiscipline deals with the social aspects of language. For a sociality, language is not only a symptom and social identity, but also an inner bond and conscience that is difficult to leave. The fourth is educational psycholinguistics. The subdiscipline examines aspects of education in general in formal education in schools. For example, the role of language in teaching reading, teaching language proficiency, and knowledge of increasing language skills in the process of improving the ability to convey thought and feelings. The fifth is psycholinguistic neurology. The subdisciplinary examines the relationship between language and the human brain. Neurologists have success in analyzing the biological structure of the brain structure. The sixth is experimental psycholinguistics. The subdisciplinary include and conducts experiments in all language and language activities. On the one hand, language behavior and language consequence on the others. And the last is applied psycholinguistics. The subdisciplinary in concert with the application of the findings of the sixth subdiscipline of psycholinguistics above into specific field that require it. Included in this subdiscipline are psychology, linguistics, speech, and understanding.
Okay, thank you, Nur Aisyah. For the final matter, will be explained by myself. Okay, just go ahead and let me explain about the scope of psycholinguistics research. A. Brain and language. Brain and language are among the studies of psychophysiology as described above. The brain and language are more commonly known as neurology, which exists between the organ of the human brain and language, whether in the storage, use, and unifying of the language itself. B. Mind and language. The link between mind language becomes an interesting one in psycholinguistic studies. Okay, the next material is language disorders. The above discussion has been suggested that language process start with encode semantics, grammatical encoding, and in a sense, language is a process that dispenses thoughts and feelings of the brain orally in words. Humans are said to be normal when the function of the brain and the speaking instrument is normal. But those with brain function and speech impairments will be impaired in a productive and receptive process. Okay, thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.